Hey, how's it going, everybody? USA Today article, and I think you already know the answer to this, or you know the answer for yourself. It's an obvious yes. Is quarantine fatigue here? Americans are leaving their homes more and more, cell data shows. This will be archived in the description if you want to go ahead and give that a read again. Researchers have found Americans are venturing out of their homes more for the first time since social distancing guidelines were put in place in mid March, despite warnings from experts strongly encouraging people to practice social distancing. Led by Lei Zhang, director of the Maryland Transportation Institute at the University of Maryland, researchers have been tracking smartphone data to determine how well more than 100 million people are complying with stay at home orders. Tracking cell phone data. Interesting. For 6 weeks, the percentage of people who were staying at home, meaning their phones moved less than a mile each day, increased or stayed the same. On Easter Sunday, the number of people staying home reached a record high, Zhang told USA Today. But on April 14th, one day before thousands protested quarantine measures at Michigan's capital, that number started to drop. After almost 2 weeks, it has been consistently dropping across the country, Zhang said. Now, for many states, the level of their social distancing right now is about the same as it was the week of March 20th. Zhang's team developed a social distancing index which scores states and counties on a scale of 0 to 100 based on factors including the percentage of people staying home, the number of trips on average people make, how many miles people travel, and travel outside the state or country. A 10-point reduction in the index is equivalent to 10% fewer people staying home, Zhang said. Nationwide, the index decreased from 52 to 44. Every state except for Rhode Island saw a decrease in social distancing, according to Zhang. 10 states with the largest drop in their social distancing index as of April 24th were Louisiana, Ohio, Indiana, Vermont, Alabama, Michigan, Missouri, North Carolina, Texas, and Arkansas. Thomas Wall, CEO of Norwegian company Unicast, which collects and analyzes location data from various sources, has also been using smartphone data to track how well Americans are complying with stay-at-home orders. So a Norwegian company, but he's keeping track of us. Interesting. He said his social distancing scoreboard shows a similar drop in distance traveled around Easter and then a spike in both distance traveled and the number of devices in the same location in recent days. This is an early indication that we need to follow in the days and weeks to come of people having a fatigue, Wall said. You can definitely see that there's starting to be a little trend here that people are more outside and less at home. After a month of quarantine, Zhang said a combination of warmer weather, a false sense of security of the flattening of the curve, and discussion of reopening the economy in some states are likely driving people's desire to leave their homes. He said some people who have seen this data have reached out to say that although they know social distancing is important, they have to go back to work. For a lot of us, there is some quarantine fatigue, but for others, maybe it's more economic reality kicking in, he said. Zhang said his team is working with epidemiologists to put their data into models to predict future trends, but they won't be able to see the impact of the 19 cases and deaths for more than 1 to 2 weeks. He added that public health officials he works with are concerned about the new trend. Professor of medicine and chief of the Division of Infectious Diseases at the University of Buffalo, who was not involved with the study, said he was concerned but not surprised that people are starting to buck social distancing guidelines. Russo said widespread testing is necessary to keep the outbreak contained as people become less compliant with social distancing guidelines. He added that public health measures including social distancing, wearing masks, hand washing, are the only way to curb the spread of the virus. If we let up on those measures, I think it's almost inevitable we're going to have resurgence of the virus, he said. We'll have a second wave now if we let all these things go. Actually, let me say this. The way that the media has painted this and the way all these scientists are painting this second wave, it's inevitable that it's going to happen in the way that they're going to classify it and the way the media has to report on it. They have to call it a second wave in whatever form it comes in. So who's to say what kind of numbers dictate what a wave is? What's a wave to you? We're close to 1 million cases here. Or actually, no, I take that back. We passed that. Say we end up with 2 million in this first wave. What would classify a second wave? What if in the second wave we had 10,000 cases? Well, like I said, the media has kind of backed themselves into a corner, as have these scientists, to label it a second wave. And you know that once it happens, oh, well, we're in a second wave now. We have to do these things again, so we won't have a third wave and a fourth wave and blah, 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 blah. They've backed themselves into the corner where they'll have to call it second wave at some point. So keep an eye out for that in the month or 2 months ahead. Whenever they start to see this thing start to go on the decline, then the media will start to ramp up the second wave narrative. Now, that said, yeah, I mean, a month, 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks in for some individuals in terms of stay-at-home orders, and it makes sense. The warmer weather definitely makes sense. It's easy to keep people locked up in the winter, right? Because who wants to go out in the winter unless you're out there trying to snowboard or ski or what have you? Warmer weather, it makes sense. People want to go outside. And that's a trend that we definitely can see coming. You may have another week, 2, 3 weeks, depending on where you live, where people are going to be somewhat compliant. And I don't doubt that even though their index, they're seeing a drop in that, that individuals are still kind of doing their part to stay at home. All the places I go, people are social distancing from what I've seen, like grocery stores and other places like that. People are social distancing still. So even though the index may be dropping, I still see individuals doing their part in terms of social distancing. And I feel like individuals out there are kind of doing their best to stay at home as much as possible. Like I said, instead of going out, well, the beach is the one thing. I mean, come on. It's warming up, the beach. It's there. Give me a break. You're going to go. You got to do what you got to do. For other places you may have to go, say like the grocery store, it's kind of an easy example. People are, I would say, probably loading up during trips. So instead of making several small trips, you load up on one big trip per week or one trip every 2 weeks. Again, getting back to it, I still want to believe that individuals are doing their part. And even though we have freedoms, we're so used to freedoms, we're raised on that here, I think by and large, individuals, aside from those individuals who want to get back to work for economic purposes, yeah, definitely you want to go ahead and continue to, or get back to making a living and providing for you and your family. But I think for individuals who have the opportunity to stay at home, that they're on unemployment, that the economic side of it is fine, I believe that those individuals are doing the best they can to stay at home as much as they can. Now, again, I like to take the optimistic side of things on this, but I don't know. That's just me. What do you all think? That's the article. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think. Take care and have a good day.